gang violence and other kind of violence.
Get away! I could be at work, at school, in my car, I can still get shot by the police, but I can get shot anywhere.
So it is what it is.
What's good, Shadow Realm? It's a Black Gen Z Mindset. Make sure you go ahead and like, comment, share, subscribe. And let's get into the video.
In developing news tonight, for the second straight night, multiple people have been shot near the same intersection in Minneapolis. And we're learning tonight's shooting is deadly. This is the intersection of East Lake Street and Hiawatha Avenue in Minneapolis just about an hour ago.
Woo! So as you guys can see, Minneapolis is on fire. Shootings all over the place. And unfortunately, the community is responsible again. You know, it's 2024. And I've been doing content like this for 3 or 4 years now. We've seen the data. We've seen the anecdotal evidence. We've seen all of these stories amalgamate to what? Not much. It's just the same thing over and over again. Anybody who delivers the message is shamed, censored, shadow banned, all that kind of stuff. But I am feeling like this year is going to be different. I am thinking that there is going to be a mass awakening. I'm hoping for it. I'm praying for it. I'm leaning towards that. I'm trying to stay optimistic on this subject matter. But the reality is there is no acknowledgement, so there can be no solution without acknowledgement.
Police told our crews at the scene that one man is dead. We are still working to learn if he died on scene or at the hospital. Another woman who was hit was brought to the hospital, and we are told she'll be okay. Some storefronts in the area were hit by bullets. Police are no longer on scene as they piece things together. As mentioned, another shooting happened in that same area just last night. MPD says around 9, 2 men were hurt in a drive-by shooting, including one with life-threatening injuries. A nearby business was damaged by gunfire too. So,
do y'all remember what a drive-by shooting is called in the community? It's called sliding. Sliding. So if you ever overhear a conversation about sliding or sliding on ops, don't think he's talking about a water slide. Don't think he's talking about a kindergarten playground. Understand that he's talking about super gremlins on demon time.
They just evil. They took his life.
1 year after her son was shot and killed in a robbery set up for a high-end pair of sneakers, his family seeking justice in a courtroom. Yassine Johnson thought he was buying an expensive pair of shoes. Instead, he was murdered outside a Plymouth apartment complex.
So remember, they tried to tell us in the comments section, I keep receipts. If you go to my Instagram, they tried to tell us in the comments section, man, brothers don't be killing over sneakers no more. That's so 2005. That's so 2000. All this stuff. They try and make it seem like, you know, that that this is not happening. But lo and behold, you have this brother who is a sneakerhead, which I also was a sneakerhead in my teen years, and I have been held at gunpoint trying to sell sneakers. Now, luckily, I got away, and I'm here to tell the tale. But it happens. It's real. These Michael Jordans or Travis Scotts or whatever you want to call these Yeezys, all these shoes, they're expensive. People are reselling them, you know, adding points to them after purchasing for market value. And if you don't wear them, if they're dead stock, which is the term for unworn shoes, they can hold, you know, pretty good value.
His alleged killer set to go on trial today, but there was an 11th hour plea deal that Johnson's family is not happy about. Our Paul Bloom live for us at the courthouse tonight. Paul, Johnson's family wants to see the gunman go away for life, but that is not happening here.
Amy, Kelsey, that is, of course, what they want, but the criminal justice system just does not work that way. Augustus Sirleaf, in this case, the gunman was charged with second-degree murder, not first-degree premeditated murder. In the end, Sirleaf pleads guilty here at the courthouse today in exchange for a 23-year prison sentence.
Woo! So he takes the guilty plea, and he gets 23 years. I mean, I guess that's the justice system working. But I know a lot of people are not going to like that, especially the family. When in many cases we see the family forgiving the assailant. In this case, it looks like the family is asking for the maximum and they're not getting it.
You pull the gun out. You point it in his face. You shot 2 rounds in his head and 1 round in his chest.
So she sounds like an immigrant, maybe Jamaican or Haitian immigrant. You know, so if she's Jamaican, wagwan. If she's Haitian, ça passe. But she lost a son. She lost the man of the house. This is a very difficult time. But we have so many mothers who are losing children to the streets. And he was trying to do the right thing. He's trying to get into a legal hustle. Selling sneakers is 100% legal. But he was snuffed out, life cut short by these super gremlins on demon time. This is why I continue to say you have the worst of us taking out the best of us.
So what else do they need to have in order for him to get life in prison? He's evil.
Grieving for a full year now, Yassine Johnson's mother and loved ones came to the Hennepin County Courthouse in search of justice. They wanted a trial, wanted the gunman, Augustus Sirleaf, to face the maximum, which to them was a first-degree murder.
So Augustus Sirleaf, this is the guy who deleted her son.
Count for the slaying of the promising 17-year-old. Instead, Monday, a plea deal that had Yassine's father walking out of the courtroom before it was even finished. Ultimately, Sirleaf admitted he shot and killed Yassine during a robbery setup outside a Plymouth apartment complex, luring him with the prospects of purchasing a high-end pair of sneakers. Sirleaf telling the judge he drew his firearm and pointed it at Yassine, who pulled up his shirt to reveal his own gun. That's when Sirleaf says he opened fire.
Damn, so it looks like both of them had the strap. The brother was trying to protect himself in the situation, and Buddy wasn't having it.
The prosecution asked Sirleaf if he intended to kill Yassine. Sirleaf answered yes. As part of his plea to second-degree murder, Sirleaf agreed to a 23-year prison sentence, not nearly enough for Thelma Gay.
A life is a life. You took a life. You don't deserve your freedom.
And it's important to point out here that 23-year prison sentence falls right within state sentencing guidelines for second-degree murder. If you do the math here with time served, Augustus Sirleaf likely looking at just shy of 15 years behind bars. But what upset?
Woo! So he's only doing 85%. Lord have mercy. He doing 15 hard years, and he's going to be able to come back out and terrorize these streets.
Yassine Johnson's family even more, as just last week prosecutors struck a deal with Sirleaf's main accomplice so he would testify against the gunman at his trial that was supposed to begin today. Of course, that did not happen. Yassine's family really just believes these 2 young men are getting off easy. We're live outside the courthouse for you tonight. Paul Bloom, Fox 9.
What's good, Shadow Realm? It's your boy Jenquavius Jackson, and y'all already know I'm demonetized and shadow banned in this bitch. So if you want to contribute, go to the Cash App, the PayPal, the GoFundMe, or join the Patreon. Also, don't forget to visit the merch store for all your favorite BGZM News 17 gear, including our exclusive Trump is a Blood t-shirt. Go fast before they sell out. They are already flying off the shelves, no cap. And remember, these super gremlins are on demon time.
In your news now, an update to a fatal stabbing and police shooting in Marshall from Sunday. The Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension has identified the woman killed in the domestic incident as 35-year-old Meredith Martell. She died at a hospital. The suspect, now identified as 41-year-old Jamel C. Moore, was killed at the scene by responding Marshall police officer Eric Klinken. According to the BCA, Officer Klinken initially attempted to tase Moore before firing his weapon, as Moore allegedly refused to stop stabbing Martell.
Wow. Jesus. So this is a very brutal description of this murder, and I know that we don't see any pictures here. I know that we don't see a mugshot of Jamel. or the victim, but this is another interracial killing, another interracial murder or deletion or whatever. I actually just got an email revealing some good news, so I don't want to say yet, and I want to keep it clean. But how do we have this conversation without getting censored? How do we have this conversation without getting shadow banned? How do we have this conversation without getting backlash from the social media oligarchs? It's very difficult, but I'm going to try. We understand that domestic violence rates increase in interracial relationships, and this is the downfall of it. You have this brother, most likely a Thug Max Alpha Simp, 41-year-old who crashed out, ended not only the life of his partner, but his own life. Over what? Something petty, something dumb. This is how these super gremlins are going out. I've shown you multiple domestic violence incidents. When is it going to get through your skull? You know, they tried to say that I was advocating for the violence. I'm trying to let you know that it's out there, how to be aware of it, how to read the signs of it. Guys, this is not okay. And when I show you what these individuals look like, it's gonna sting. It's gonna sting, especially for my white audience. People might put in the comment section, toll paid. Right? This is the reality. This is what we're dealing with. But if we, as a group, the community, specifically brothers, do not take what I've been speaking about in my live streams, group accountability, group accountability, group accountability. We have to take group accountability for these incidents. When it happens to a brother and when it happens to someone outside of our group. It's important because it must be condemned. Otherwise, people think that you're okay with this, right? In some cases, in some senses, I've even seen comments on Twitter like the colonizer got what they deserve, all this kind of stuff. This is not productive in having this conversation. Neither is the toll paid stuff, but people are going to do it on both ends. But the question is, what can I do? What can you do to spread awareness? Okay? I'm trying to do my part. I get a lot of pushback. I know, I do. But being consistent, standing 10 toes, having your heart in these issues is the only way that we're going to overcome. And unfortunately, I have to cover this story of another interracial deletion. And this is a domestic violence interracial deletion, but it's another one. And they're going to continue to happen in 2024 if we don't speak up, if we don't take group accountability, and if we don't shed a light on these repeat offenders who are getting let go. Because yes, this guy was a repeat offender. And they're slipping through the cracks of the criminal justice system. And this is all by design. The woke district attorneys, the woke left, the Soros-funded DAs, as we like to call them. These are the guys pushing the button and ultimately holding the bag filled with blood that is seeping all over their hands in these incidents.
The BCA says Officer Klenken has 24 years of law enforcement experience and is currently on standard administrative leave. As for possible charges, the BCA will continue its investigation and present its findings to the Lyon County Attorney's Office.
All right, guys. So I'm not going to get into the comments of this post because, you know, you can do that yourself. And I don't want to trigger anything on YouTube, right? But this story needs to be talked about. It's very important. And there are no news clips, no news write-ups, no information on this subject matter. That clip that I just showed you is the only news clip of this story, and I believe that to be a travesty. I do. And that's why I'm creating this video, so that it can be another headline, another news clip, another example of the suppression and the repression of information that is dire for the American people, black or white, to consume. So this study comes out of, like you guessed, right, Minnesota, okay? Or is it, yeah, well, Minnesota, Minneapolis, Minnesota, right? I believe this is Hennepin County again. But this is the judge, Peter Cahill, who a few months ago released Jamel Hill-Moore back onto the streets. Hill-Moore was sentenced to 21 months in prison over domestic abuse, but this judge granted him a stay. So what does that tell you? He was not adequately punished for his crime. Therefore, in his mind, his crime was not a big deal. There were no corrective measures being taken to divert his behavior patterns. Excuse me. There were only measures that enhance his behavior patterns, and one could even say embolden his behavior patterns. So last week, Hill-Moore stabbed and deleted Meredith Martell in her bed. Judge Peter Cahill is the same judge who sentenced Derek Chauvin to 22.5 years. So this is how the overlap happens. Soros-funded DA who kicked off basically the sentencing, the unjustifiable sentencing of Derek Chauvin. And below is a video of him admitting that his rulings are all guided by racial justice, DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, all that kind of stuff. So you have a judge who is not operating based off of the law, but operating based off of emotions and wokeness. And that leads to the untimely slaying of this woman here, as you guys can see. Okay? So this is the woman who was deleted. Okay? It's obviously a very sad story. This is the brother who deleted her. He is obviously thug maxed. Okay? So I want to show you guys this video of the judge's take and his viewpoint and his opinion on how his rulings are brought down.
Every case that you deal with should be about racial justice. Even if everybody in your courtroom, if you're white, old white guy like me, and everybody else in the courtroom is an old white guy, even the defendant on the speeding case, you still have to figure out, am I treating this person the same way I would somebody who is younger, different age, or different ethnicity, different race? You have to constantly do that. So,
okay, so I kind of see what he's saying here. He's trying to, in my opinion, make the point of removing your biases, but it really sounds like he's actually implementing a bias. When you are a judge and you're ruling upon a case, you shouldn't see color, right? And I know it's a big thing online to say, oh, well, the white people saying they don't see color are lying, and the black people who, are so obsessed with color, they just need to get over it, right? We hear both of those sides of the tracks. But as a judge, you are supposed to abide by the law. And the only colors in those law books, ironically, are black and white. But you have to understand that you're supposed to go by what is printed on the books, not this guy is black, so let me make sure that I'm not overruling his sentence. Well, I guess overruling is not the word, but over sentencing him. Let me make sure that I'm removing my implicit bias, and vice versa. He has a white guy in the courtroom. Well, let me make sure that I'm not being lenient on him because he's white. No, you're supposed to look at that book. You're supposed to look at the sentencing guidelines, whatever points are added for repeat offenders, whatnot. You look at that, you make a determining decision, and you stand on that decision, and you make it so that the decision is final and the decision is accurate and justifiable within the context of the law. That's not what these judges are doing, and that's why we have these situations that continue to occur.
As what can you control? Well, number one, you can check your bias. How many have been through applied bias training? If you haven't, make sure you do it. It's very valuable. Check your bias.
Gang violence and other kind of violence.
Guess what? I could be at work, at school, in my car, and I can still get shot by the police. But I can get shot anywhere.
So it is what it is.